we have to talk about this. There's been a lot of disasters in China recently. A lot of natural disasters, but a lot of man-made disasters too. Something pretty big has just happened in Sichuan, and we wanted to talk about it because we figured something out, and it's basically the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think we just made a timeline, and it was me and you working on a video idea. We were sitting down working on the Friday show, and we were putting together a timeline of when and where things were happening. And we were like, this is really weird. Not only is it weird, it's like too much. This is too much. And what we notice is if you don't jump on something in China stuff, even on the Western internet, it gets buried with search engine optimization and all kinds of tricks that the Chinese government pulls. So we had to jump on it now.
Yeah. So let's first of all just bring up a few things here.
First.
Every single week, we're reporting something to you guys about a bridge collapsing, a massive sinkhole, a rocket explosion, some man-made disaster. All right. Of course, China's no, what would you say, stranger to these things. We've been having these massive things happening for years and decades, but it just is coming to a bit of a head here. So we're looking at this timeline. In Wuhan, on the 1st of August, okay, so we're talking about a week ago, something happened. I'd like to talk you through this. A massive sort of subsidence of an intersection. So an entire area suddenly just sank.
The earth sunk.
Yeah, okay. Which is whatever.
I mean, it's not.
It's whatever.
Like, it's not whatever.
No, it's not.
Imagine that happened where you are.
Yes. So let's explain to you what's happened here. In Wuhan, they have filled in reclaimed land from a lot of lakes. There used to be a lot of lakes in the city. But because of the construction boom, they're like, we can use that land. So they fill it in, and then they just build on top of it without doing proper geological surveys, without properly putting in the right kind of foundations. And this is the result.
Can I explain something about that really quick? It's really funny. We were talking about it earlier.
Yeah.
You could probably just pause on one of these. So, you know, with the real estate boom in China, when I say boom, I mean they have to keep going. Like, it has to keep feeding itself.
By the way, please don't stop your
okay.
thing. But residential buildings nearby have now formed cracks because, of course, the whole street fell down. And so the whole building's foundation's obviously suspect now. People were evacuated.
That actually ties into what I was going to say.
Right.
So what happens is they have to keep selling these houses. Remember, there's 1 billion extra homes in China, right? Like, that people don't even live in because they have to keep building these crap Tofu Dreg buildings, right?
Yes.
So what the government does, or these investment companies that work with the government do, because you can't own land or property in China, right?
Yeah.
Is they'll say, buy this new apartment. It's a lakefront view, right? So people pay like a lot more money in Wuhan to live next to this lake, right?
Yes.
Then they go, gotcha! They fill in the lake with concrete.
Yeah, a little bit.
Little by little. And then build another block of flats.
Another block of lakefront. Yeah, exactly.
They block the people that bought. So these people are like, hey, where's my lakefront property? These people get new buildings put up, and now they're on the lakefront, and they keep doing this.
Yeah, they keep reclaiming land,
And that's why this happens. It's like, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions.
Exactly. Now, I would like to quickly discuss how they repaired this. Okay? So, obviously the ground underneath, the soft, muddy soil or whatever, it's kind of washed away or disappeared underneath, so everything sunk.
Yeah.
Right? Because it used to be a lake underneath there, right?
You're building on an old lake.
Yeah. So
old.
Yeah, exactly. So that all went away. So what do? They don't do anything about clearing the rubble and doing anything, which you would normally do, right? You would go in there, you'd clear the rubble, you'd reinforce whatever you've got there. But no, what they decided to do is just bring in a whole whack of concrete pumps and literally just fill the entire area with concrete.
So what you're saying is that in an area that was already geologically unsound, that had a massive problem with weight distribution and stuff, is to fix the problem after it's sunk, is to pump in heavy-ass concrete on an unstable surface with the debris still inside of it.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to show you here. You saw something about the high-speed rail there. Well, guess what? The high-speed rail goes right past this, very close. So now, obviously, they've had to slow it down to 35 kilometers an hour whenever it passes through this part of the city. But what you're seeing here are not cranes. These are concrete pumps. There's like the big sinkhole, like the whole street has subsided over there. So what do? They just leave everything as it is and just pump concrete in it. That's what they're doing. Look.
It's like if you ask a child
There's
to
still
solve
a car
problem.
there.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you gave them like a diorama and it's like a sunken thing, they're like, fix it, and they just dump glue on it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, look at that. It's just a massive amount of concrete being pumped in there. That's how they fix the problem. So, I'm not an engineer, but in my mind, that doesn't make a lot of sense because you've still got all the cracks and the fissures and all the problems down there. You don't know what's going on with the, any of the foundations or anything in the area.
There's a song that could be put here, I think.
What's
they paved paradise, put up a parking lot.
Exactly.
That's literally what they've done.
Yeah. This is nearby. They're busy, obviously, trying to reinforce one of the high-speed rail things. But look, did you see that? That was the whole area.
Oh, yeah, please show that.
I'll go back just a second.
They're quite literally dumping concrete into the problem.
Yeah, that's it. They just covered the problem.
They made a lake again.
Cover the problem up with a massive amount of concrete.
That. And people wonder where all the world's limestone's going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Where all the concrete's being poured.
Let's just cover everything up with concrete and then just forget about it.
This is the kind of stuff, and there's a reason we have to jump on it. This is the kind of stuff that gets covered up right away. Like China will not report this part.
No. So there you go. Like a whole street sinks. Instead of getting in there and digging it up and making it right and doing it properly, let's just go pour a shit ton of concrete on top until it kind of reaches the level it used to be. Yes. And it doesn't matter what, like trees or debris or whatever's under there, because that's going to hollow out and cause more problems in the future. Let's just cover it.
We getting out of the sinkholes of this one.
Yeah, exactly. I'm seriously disappointed that they would do something like that. It's nuts.
By the way, this isn't even the breaking story.
No. So this was the 1st of August that this happened, right?
Yes.
Now, I want you to take a look. These are some guys cleaning windows. They're doing some kind of repairs.
Whoa.
And look, the entire curtain wall thing just falls down.
Pause that for a second. I just want people to understand, like, haha, hardy har.
Yeah.
I personally know someone that was hit by this stuff, and she got a massive concussion, head injuries, and it can be worse.
Yeah, people die from this.
Yes.
So, I mean, this is very common. We've shown you before how the curtain walls just sometimes spontaneously fall off. They don't even need to be, like, touched by a human foot. And they'll fall off. And these things are high up, right? And there's a reason I wanted to show you that. It's just let it sink in that this is quite a common thing. And it's nice to laugh at it when it's all like, oh, wow, look at this rubbish.
Yeah.
Construction, look, it's so funny, it falls off, this is hilarious, right? But it's not always funny, all right? Let's get us out of here again.
In fact, many times it's not funny at all.
In fact, I don't think it's ever funny.
No, it's funny when it misses stuff, I guess. But then you have to step back and think about it with 20/20 hindsight and say, I just watched a building fall down in a residential area.
Well, I know that the building, my wife bought an apartment, and the building that she bought the apartment in, that happened.
Yeah.
It actually just fell down, and then you lose a lot of value of your property. They come in and try to fix it, but they never do a good job. No. It just looks rubbish.
So anyway, consequences.
Yeah, we remember this is August 1st that this thing in Wuhan happened, okay?
Yeah.
Now, August 2nd in Kunming. Now, bear in mind, this is way on the other side of the country here. We had an awful situation where, just like you saw that debris fell down and killed a 19-year-old delivery driver. So, these delivery guys, they got a hard job in China. They are constantly, day in and day out, rushing around, picking up food, dropping it off. This guy's there to go either drop off food or pick it up, I'm not sure. Just happens to be under the building, and a piece of stuff falls off the building and kills him. Right? And that's why, you can laugh about the Tofu Dreg stuff, but it's deadly.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely deadly. And we'll see in a minute, you'll be able to see the pieces that actually fell off. So I'd like you to take a look at what's circled there in the image. That's what fell down. Mm-hmm. It's like a whole section of the decoration of the wall there. And you can see it repeats, right? It's a repeating thing. That one fell down for no reason other than the fact that it was just poorly constructed. Yeah. And there are others that are ready to fall down too. But of course, nothing will be done. They'll just be left, right? Yeah. So that was on the 2nd of August, right? Absolute tragedy. A young man, 19 years old, lost his life.
Yeah.
Okay, Sichuan, August 3rd.
1 day later.
Yeah. That's again on the other side of the country, you know?
We'll show you
far away. We'll show you a map, yeah. Now this is terrifying. This is the one we're talking about.
This is nuts.
Thing. There are 2 tunnels here, okay? Let me explain how this works. You often get this in mountainous areas of China, and it's kind of interesting. And I've always enjoyed driving in these areas. You go through a tunnel, and then it opens for like a few meters where you're on a bridge back into another tunnel, right? Because they've bored through the mountains. So those green lights on the tunnels mean that it's okay. It means you can go. If there's an accident on one of the lanes or they're doing work on one of the lanes, that light on the left will go red, for instance, and have a cross. So that means only stay in the right lane. Okay? So when you're barreling through a tunnel at night, okay, this happened at 3:30 in the morning. Barreling through a tunnel at night, you see the green lights ahead of you. You're like, cool. All right, I'm just going to keep going. It's all good. Tunnel, bridge,
Here on
tunnel,
your
bridge.
GPS, 进入睡道.
Exactly.
I used to get excited when I hear
Yeah.
that, entering a tunnel, because they're really long.
And they're
actually,
like,
you said.
打开灯 or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
他们是把车子开到前面，你才发现了吗？
请
他们
打开
可以别地
大灯。
方看到那儿就看到了。
开到那儿发现。
Okay, so you're going.
那边塔罗。
嗯。
Remember, this is the highway.
Yeah.
This is not a back road.
No. But then all of a sudden, where there was a bridge, there's nothing. Can you see that?
It's a main highway turned into a cliff, a pit.
The thing is, you wouldn't know because the
No.
transition between a tunnel and openness, it's a change anyway. So you probably wouldn't notice that there's no road there.
No.
That's-
This is chilling.
It's terrifying because I could see myself just going right over that cliff. You don't have enough time to react. You see the green lights in the distance
Yeah,
there,
you're
right?
like, of course, what? Who on the highway is going, I better look at the road condition. There's a green light before I go in a tunnel on a
Yeah.
new road, by the way.
Yeah. So,
This was, can I read the construction date?
sure.
This was constructed in 2018.
That's very recent.
Yes, this is not an old road.
No, it's not.
It's a main road.
And just the perspective of where you're sitting in a car, you would not see that there's no road there, especially at 3 a.m. in
No.
the morning,
Absolutely not.
right? It's absolutely terrifying. So, because this is very recent, this is only a couple of days ago, we still don't know the casualty rate. Just now look at it during the day, by the way.
This is horrifying.
Okay. So you can see the tunnel. Can you see the tunnel? That's where you would have come out of. And then it's a sheer cliff.
It's like Evil Knievel or something would
Yeah.
do this jump. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, he'd fail.
I mean, he would fail, but you
Yeah.
understand, like, I want people to be in the perspective of a driver
Yeah.
going through this tunnel at 120 kilometers an hour, it's like 70 miles an hour,
Yeah.
ripping at night, 3:30, you're like, oh, I can't wait to get home to my village or whatever.
Yeah.
On a main highway that you paid a toll for, so it's brand new, so
Yeah.
you turn off your brain even more.
Yeah.
There's no, like, twisties or, like, people jumping out. This
Sure.
is just a protected
in
highway.
a nice tunnel, you're
In
all
a
cozy.
nice tunnel. It's brand new, 2018 construction. You're like, new
Yeah.
pavement. You
That's it.
literally come out of a pipe and go down.
Yeah, and you can see the entrance to both tunnels because if you got one going one way, the other one going the other way. Obviously, you can actually see over there a car overturned that obviously ramped out of there and
Yes.
smashed around. The guys on that side are way luckier than the guys on the other side because if you look at the other side, it literally just goes down a freaking mountain. Look
Yeah,
at that.
it's a cliff.
Look at that hole.
Yeah.
Like if you're out, you're out. Of course, we don't know the actual casualties. They said 5 cars, which I find very hard to believe that there were only 5 cars that disappeared down the mountain. I mean,
at that time, you know,
3:30 a.m.?
there's not much going on in the Tibetan Autonomous Region of Sichuan at 3:30 a.m.
yeah, I mean, still though, like,
Who knows how long it proliferated?
yeah, I mean,
right?
like how long before somebody noticed?
Yeah. You know, because it's not like you're going to survive falling down there, right?
No, there's,
So I'm saying you're not calling to be like, hey guys,
Yeah.
by the way, I just fell down a cliff.
yes,
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's a horror movie.
it's horrible.
One thing I wanted to say that's kind of, before we move on to the next horrific incident,
Sure.
and not to be the doomsdayer guys, but
Mm-hmm.
Chairman Mao, I always like to bring this up. Famously, his favorite adage was the story of a man who had to move a mountain by going through it, rather
Yeah,
than he
going
spent his
around
whole
it.
life digging through the mountain, as opposed to walking around it to go do his work.
Yeah.
And that was a heroic tale about how man can overcome nature. I don't think that's actually the correct adage to use for
No.
China.
Here's another thing. Remember, what was it, 19th of July? So last month,
Yeah.
the Shanxi bridge collapsed. Is that correct?
That was on July 19th. You're right. Yeah.
Okay. And remember, we reported it here live on the show, and they were
Yes.
saying only 12 people
Yeah.
dead or something. They had a very low average amount.
So
Remember?
there's been an official update. So again, take this with a massive grain of salt. It's probably a lot more.
Yeah.
According to our
So
experience.
that one that we talked about, which is again, we've got 2 bridge collapses within a month over here.
Yeah, on major highways. Again,
Major
I don't.
highways.
I think people are thinking China. Okay, probably a little backwards. We're talking about brand new infrastructure projects, newer than anything in the U.S.
Yeah, this very new.
Pristine
Very new.
highways.
The stuff that they brag about in all their propaganda about
Yeah.
like infrastructure and so on. Take a look at this. The death toll is now raised to 38 and
Yeah.
still 24 people missing. That's a lot. 38 people already dead, 24 missing.
Yes.
You know, in my math, that brings it up to like 70 something.
Yeah, we're almost there, right?
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's ridiculous. So remember when in the beginning they were saying there's like maybe 12 people
Yeah,
missing?
now we're up to 62.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, I mean, missing means dead here.
Yes,
Let's be honest.
there's no way you're surviving going into a raging torrent water in a car.
No.
Guess what? We looked up the construction date of this highway. Do you know what it was?
What?
Well, you looked it up with me. What was the
I'm
construction
looking.
date of this?
So this started construction in 2010.
When did it complete construction?
So this is another highway collapse. This finished in 2018 as well.
Just like the other one.
So we're looking at two major highways. And remember, these highways, it might be different than your country. This is not like a local highway section. This highway goes across a swath of the whole country. So these are brand new roads, right?
Yes.
Brand new roads. You have to pay a toll. You have to have a car. You can't ride a motorcycle.
Yeah.
You have to pay exorbitant money to drive.
Yeah,
on
it's like
these.
1 RMB a kilometer or something.
Yes,
it works
this
out
is
to.
not like some like gravel road that there's
No.
some like locals digging pits, you know. This is major infrastructure projects. Both of these were completed in 2018. Both collapsed.
Yeah,
Little
exactly.
weird.
And
Little creepy.
the thing is, they should not have collapsed.
Yeah, they should have actually been completed correctly.
Yes.
You know, this is why we on this particular episode we wanted to focus on the man-made issues because you can have bad weather anywhere, right?
Yeah.
But these are the fault of man, corruption, and really dirty bad projects in China that the Chinese government oversees. People get bribed, and this is our issue. This is probably why you don't want Belt and Road Initiative projects from China in your country.
Correct.
You see what happens?
Every single construction project is always plagued with by corruption and shortcuts because if you can make a buck, you make a buck in China, right? If you can cheat, then cheat. It's a saying, 能骗就骗. And if you've got some construction boss who's a part of the company, he gets the contract, he's going to source materials that are worse or less materials.
Yes.
He's going to use them because that means he gets to pocket more of the government money that's being spent.
That's
right?
true. That's actually true.
Bribes are paid to inspectors because here's the thing. You wouldn't have the Wuhan road collapsing if there was a proper geological inspection.
No.
They have to okay the site before construction happens, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, they go there and they're like, well, it's probably not okay. The guy bribes him, is like, oh, it's fine. You know, or don't even look. Here, just take this money and give us the pass.
This is, there's a microcosm of this in the elevators. We've seen so many elevator collapses in China. We always talk about this in our own apartment buildings. We had elevator collapses,
Yes.
right? And what they'll do is they'll go and bribe the elevator inspector because they know it wasn't built to spec.
Yes.
And it almost always results in some sort of failure. Sometimes catastrophic, like in my place where it actually just fell to the ground.
Yeah.
Sometimes where it gets stuck and people get stuck in there forever.
My free
Sometimes
fell
people
like
get
4
chopped.
or 5. Yeah, I actually free fell with
You
the
free fell.
family for about 4 or
Yes.
5 floors.
Yeah.
And the emergency brakes kicked in, thank God.
Yeah. Sometimes you get people chopped.
Yeah.
Right? And this is such a big problem in China. And escalators,
Oh,
same
yeah.
inspection process.
Correct.
They eat people, right?
Yeah.
This is a big problem in China. It's not just these highways and bridges and stuff. This is everything in China where it can be bribed, it will be bribed.
That's correct. In
Right.
fact, I did a video on my channel where the regulations are there's supposed to be 2 people inspecting, but because they didn't want to pay an extra staff, people were taking a cardboard cutout.
Yes.
Remember, and
Yes.
sticking a cardboard cutout and then
That was-
taking a picture like, hey, look, there's 2 of us
Yes.
here, but it's like a cardboard cutout.
Remember the floating guys, the
Yes,
road inspectors?
yeah.
That's it. We should have put that in here
Yeah.
back in the day, and this happens all the time.
Sure.
But these road inspectors had to come see, like, oh, how's the progress of this road? These CCP officials,
yeah.
Chinese government officials, and they actually cut them out in bad Photoshop and made them like floating over
Yeah.
the road.
Yeah,
so
as if
they're
they were there.
inspecting, and they
Yeah.
weren't there because they were too lazy to show up.
Yeah.
And so, of course, where's the inspection wasn't done?
Yeah,
right.
of course.
But they're still in the newspaper for it.
Anyway, back to the timeline. Yesterday, okay, August 6th, so yesterday in Zhuhai, which is in Guangdong province, this happened. A double-story building apparently exploded and collapsed with obviously with casualties
What is
and
this,
people
a
missing.
freaking terrorist attack at this point? I mean, it's not, but like we have such a big lack of regulation with explosive gases and things in China
yeah.
that you would often hear, even in our cities and places, there will be kerosene explosions all the time.
Exactly. So the whole point of this is we wanted to show you a map of China here and where these particular things just within the past week.
Yeah.
Guys, all this stuff happened in a week. There were more. There are so many more. But within a week, all of these massive construction failures across the entire country. Take a look at this map. I'll get us out of here. Anyone who knows China, who's been to China, will see that is just a big swath.
Oh, it's like the size of the U.S. I mean, the picture of U.S. map.
Dude, that almost looks like a pentagram. Almost.
Really,
almost looks like a pentagram.
We need one more disaster.
Yes. Well, I bet you there is one.
Probably.
We could definitely find
I mean, we did not include everything.
And then we could even make a circle around it with all the other ones.
You could.
The fact is, this is the point we're trying to get at here, is that China is sitting on a ticking time bomb.
I didn't even realize it's forming a pentagram.
A massive, big problem is coming for China. And this problem is all the infrastructure is going to fail. All right? There's a reason for this.
Yeah.
China's massive, massive construction boom that happened while we were there, 2018, I was still in China at the time when they finished these 2 highways that just had these big collapses. This massive boom permeated every city, every town, every part of China.
Yes.
Is these new highways and skyscrapers and trains and everything that were being built, all of them have shortcuts. All of them have construction issues. All of them were built, in a way that bribery and corruption was involved.
Yeah, so we were discussing this, and there's a expiration date on everything that you've seen and everything going forward. So we have a feeling, and it's not just a feeling, it's been happening.
Yeah.
There's a reason you've been seeing so much more infrastructure collapse recently, is because there's that much more infrastructure to fail.
Yeah.
We saw the boom happen when we were there, and it just got more and more and more to the point where you could go to a place and it doesn't look like, 1 year later, it doesn't look like the same city
No,
anymore.
it's not.
It's sprawl, right?
Yeah.
New highways, new bridges, new buildings, new dams, new everything, new arenas, right?
Yes.
A lot of this stuff goes derelict.
Just go there in another 2 to 3 years, and it looks like that stuff's been there since like the 80s.
It looks like you're walking around a zombie game.
Yeah.
Post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
We visited villages that were put up for millionaires that hadn't even finished construction yet, 3 years into it, and were already falling apart to the point where we were crumbling things with our bare hands.
Yeah, exactly.
We were reaching and pulling the cladding off of stuff because it was rotten, right? By the way, that is such a pentagram.
It is a
And I
pentagram.
just realized this is a flat map, but if you made it globular, right, it would actually like terraform correctly. It'd be the
Probably
right
would.
shape.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
figured something
absolutely.
out, guys.
It is there's something evil going on there. But quite seriously, this is why we decided to make this episode, is we've just realized that everything has a time limit. And if we're looking at stuff from 2018 starting to collapse now, what?
It's 666, bro.
It's 7,666 kilometers.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Dear Lord.
Yeah, exactly.
What's
Wow.
happening? We didn't even notice
No, we
this.
didn't notice it. We didn't do that on purpose, I promise.
Oh, my goodness.
But quite seriously, guys, what would you say, 10, 15 years?
It's hard to put a time on it, but it looks like stuff that was finished, and then 3 years after you start to see them fall apart.
Yeah.
And then you look at it again, and then if you're looking at 5, 10 years, it's absolutely derelict.
Yeah.
And so you focus, what China can do with a press freedom rating of like 8 out of 100 is they can just film the new stuff, put that out there, pay for tons of promotion so that Westerners see this. They come to China, they go spend their tourism bucks there, and they go back home and say, yeah, I would love if my town cooperated with China. Let's put up a new project and cooperate and do all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
They don't care. China has never cared about what happens to its own people. The government, it's all fodder to them. They would rather pour concrete over the problem. A great example is the train collapse in Wenzhou, right? High-speed rail collapses.
Yeah.
While people were still in the cars, they brought bulldozers and front-end loaders and covered up with dirt the train cars.
Even when there were bodies inside.
When there were bodies inside.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was better to cover it up rather than people to see the damage.
Correct. Absolutely correct. It's pretty awful. And here's the thing. All of these projects, they might be lucky
Yeah.
and stay standing. But if there's ever anything like a strong wind or a hurricane or a flood or something, then, the stuff that's supposed to be withstanding these natural forces and normally would aren't going to.
Yes.
It's that simple.
The mandate of heaven people always bring up, right?
Yeah, this is a mandate of hell.
That's what chat was saying. Now, we actually don't believe in the mandate of heaven. By the way, if you're new, China has this thing called the mandate of heaven, which means that if there's big problems happening in the country, then it's signed to change to a new emperor. It's like an ancient thing. That people like to really hone in on it. I think it's a very romantic idea for Westerners, but it's never really been an issue in modern China.
Yeah.
You can throw all the problems at the world in China at the people, and they get censored, right? They don't know stuff's happening.
Correct.
So it's like it's never going to happen.
That's
Right.
correct. Yeah.
Anyway. Mandate
So
of hell.
here's another thing. We absolutely could, for every day of this year, put together a timeline of some bad construction failure. I am confident that if I were to sit down and do a search and do it properly, I could find one man-made construction failure in China for every day of the year. I'm quite confident I could do that. Big, small, somewhere in between.
Easy.
So this is just a small sample of what's happened over the last week. And we can expect a lot more. Now, remember, there's been a lot of flooding and stuff.
Yeah.
But look, this spreads out all over the country to places where there aren't even floods.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Just so you know, it's not one isolated area of China that's in a flood plain or something.
That's the point of the map.
This is the point of the map, is to show you it's all over China, every corner of China. And it's all down to poor construction and Tofu Dreg construction and corruption and very bad practice.
Yes. Oh.
So it gave me a bit of a shock in the beginning.
If you ate a urinal cake, but you pissed on it first, and you added salt to it.
It does have a slight hint of urinal cake. Hey, look, he's got the Laoban posture with that. Arms behind the back. Yeah, he does.
They call this the forest of bees.
The forest of bees. The bees are everywhere.
Midges and mosquitoes.
Listen to the bees. Smoking dope in the morning before school opens up, selling crack in the halls, popping pills at lunch.
What a wonderful song.
Yeah.
What a wonderful song.
When I close my eyes, I can almost see it. When I take a breath, you fill up my lungs. And if my mind worked